And welcome back to This Week. I'm pleased to be joined by 5th District Democratic Congressman Jim Cooper. Always nice to see you, sir. Welcome
to be with you,
back
Bob.
to Nashville, as always. Running for re-election. Seems like you're always running for re-election when you're in the House. 2 years after the cycle turns. Is it a little different this year in that your district has changed somewhat because of redistricting? You have a Republican opponent, Brad Stats, who's new to politics, so we're learning a little bit about him. Has it changed how you're campaigning for re-election?
I try to work hard every day to serve the good people of this area. Now the new district is all of Davidson County, and that's good that we added South Davidson County, which had been left out. It's also Cheatham County and Dixon County, so these are all good folks, and I work hard to represent them.
Have you had to introduce yourself to some new folks? It's a little bit different because it's been pretty stable for several years now.
Spent a little more time in Dixon County. It's a wonderful place. I've not met everybody there yet, but I'm working on it.
Talk a little bit about what's going on in Washington. You've been a fiscal conservative before people knew what that term was. You've written books about the dangers of this deficit of going in debt and not having balanced budgets. Now you're proposing a bill that's gaining some support. Diane Black's on board with you. She's a Republican. If you don't pass the budget, you're not going to get paid in Congress. You would not get paid if this does not happen. It's moving forward, but you're still not there yet. Is it a reality? Can it happen?
We're making progress, and as you noted, Bob, when a Republican like Diane Black spent hundreds of thousands of dollars advertising my legislation on local TV, that's progress, because she's not only a co-sponsor, she's an enthusiastic supporter. We have 77 co-sponsors right now. We're gaining momentum every day. We have grassroots support, because everybody realizes, hey, if you don't work, you shouldn't get paid. So why should Congress be any different? And I think this is a fundamental reform of the institution that we can and must get passed.
This is one of those bills, too, that's a real example of constituents do have a voice. You say this was brought to you by a constituent here in Nashville, said, you know, if I don't do my job, I don't get paid. So if you don't do yours, why should you get paid?
It's basic common sense. And why hadn't that been happening in Washington? That's one reason we got so many problems in Washington, because Washington has been hypocritical. It has not lived by the rules that it sets for the nation. And this is Congress's chance to do right for a change.
In the Senate, Senator Bob Corker is on board with the balanced budget idea. You're on board with that. Is that moving forward? Is that a realistic possibility? You have a balanced budget amendment here in Tennessee. You have to have a balanced budget here to pass the budget.
Washington's spending has been out of control for a long time. I'm proud to have Senator Corker's support and others. We work very well, not only within the Democratic Party, but across the aisle, to do the things that make America stronger. Because we're the greatest nation on earth. We have to keep that heritage for our kids and grandkids. That's our job, to keep America #1.
Are you encouraged? Are people beginning to hear that message? The folks in Washington, it seems to me, we're in partisan politics. There's nothing wrong with partisan politics, nothing wrong with having values that you support. But it seems to me that there's such a gridlock. It gets stronger and stronger. You can't get anything through in there as far as compromise. When did that become a bad word?
Well, we are making some progress. We haven't won yet, but more and more ideas like the Simpson-Bowles bipartisan balanced budget approach are out there. There are other things that are heading us in the right direction. Now, there's still too many stubborn colleagues in Washington who haven't been persuaded, but we're working on them, and gradually we're making headway.
We're just climbing out of, and still not there, the greatest recession we've had since the Great Depression. It looks like if things don't improve, we're talking about the fiscal cliff. If these tax cuts, spending increases do not get a handle on that, if Congress does not do something by the end of the year, economists are saying we could go right back into recession, unemployment could go to 9–10% again. And it doesn't seem like Congress is ready to act on this yet.
Well, Congress has been slow, but we have to be thankful that Nashville and the middle Tennessee area has been a bright spot. We are way ahead of the rest of the nation in many respects, and we got to keep our progress that way. The challenge is to make sure that we do recover from this recession, that we create the jobs we need to, opportunities for all of our people, old and young. Because if you don't have a job, you're really hurting in life. There are other things that we need to make sure that more of our kids can get the education that they deserve so that they can seek the jobs that really produce the income and the quality of life that we need. There's so many other things like that that have to be done. Now, we should be proud we're the greatest nation in the world, but we have a lot to do to make sure we keep it that way.
You know this, Congressman. People are frightened out there. They don't want to lose their pensions. They don't want to lose their savings, and they feel like they're helpless and able to convince people to take some kind of action to stop this from happening.
Soon, it should be before the election, but it'll probably happen after. There'll be a grand bipartisan compromise.
Right before the deadline. It's usually what happens.
Yeah. They create suspense, that creates public pressure, and then they finally do the right thing. We have to remember, in American history, Winston Churchill said that America could always be counted on to do the right thing after she had exhausted all the alternatives. It just takes a long time to exhaust some of these alternatives.
Will you be taking part in the Democratic convention? I know you're supporting President Obama. Tennessee, not one of his states that's probably going to win, but what role will you have? Will you be doing anything in that convention as regards to speaking or anything like that?
No formal role. I'm a Blue Dog Democrat.
Yes,
I'm not necessarily as popular with the Democratic leadership as I could be, but I'm trying to represent the people of Middle Tennessee. That's my job. It's not to be a party representative. It's to have a stronger America. So I put the country first.
Representative Jim Cooper, always nice to speak with you and spend some time with you, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Stay with us. This Week in